Hello and welcome to G Fun Facts Online, the show where we dive deep into the science that's shaping our future. I'm your host, and today we're talking about something that has plagued humanity for centuries, from pharaohs to presidents: hair loss. For as long as we've had hair, we've worried about losing it. Ancient Egyptians mixed fats from crocodiles and hippos, hoping for a miracle cure. Today, we have medications and surgery. But what if I told you we are on the verge of an era where baldness isn't just managed, but could be made a thing of the past? We're not talking about science fiction. We're talking about the incredible emerging science of hair follicle regeneration. We're going to explore how scientists are learning to awaken dormant cells and even create brand new hair follicles from scratch. So stick around as we uncover how science is aiming to make baldness a relic of history. Before we get to the groundbreaking future, let's understand the enemy. Hair loss, or alopecia, isn't a single condition. It's a collection of them. The most common culprit, the one affecting a staggering 85% of men and over half of all women at some point, is called androgenetic alopecia. You probably know it as male or female pattern baldness. It all comes down to a combination of genetics and hormones. Specifically, a hormone called dihydrotestosterone, or DHT. DHT is a byproduct of testosterone, and for those with a genetic sensitivity, it's the villain of our story. DHT binds to hair follicles and, over time, causes them to shrink in a process called miniaturization. Imagine a thriving factory, slowly being downsized until it's just a tiny shed that can't produce anything anymore. That's what DHT does to your hair follicles. Eventually, they shrink so much they can no longer produce a visible hair. And that's not the only way we lose hair. There's alopecia areata, which is an autoimmune disease. This is where your own body gets confused and your immune system attacks your hair follicles as if they were foreign invaders, causing hair to fall out in patches. Then there's telogen effluvium, a sudden dramatic shedding of hair often triggered by a major stress on the body, like a serious illness, surgery, or even childbirth. It's usually temporary, but it can be quite alarming. And there are other types, like scarring alopecias, where inflammation destroys the follicle for good, leaving scar tissue behind. For decades, our arsenal against these conditions has been pretty limited. The two most famous weapons are minoxidil and finasteride. You've probably seen ads for them. Minoxidil was actually developed to treat high blood pressure, but researchers noticed a peculiar side effect. It made hair grow. It's a vasodilator, which means it widens blood vessels. The theory is that this improves blood flow to the scalp, delivering more oxygen and nutrients to the follicles, essentially nudging them out of their resting phase and into the growth phase. It works for a lot of people, but we're still not 100% sure on the exact mechanism. Finasteride, on the other hand, takes a more direct approach for pattern baldness. It's a DHT blocker. It inhibits the enzyme that converts testosterone into the follicle-shrinking DHT. By lowering the levels of DHT in the scalp, it can halt the miniaturization process and even lead to some regrowth. While these drugs can be a lifeline for many, they aren't a cure. They are a lifelong commitment. The moment you stop taking them, the hair loss resumes. They're like hitting the pause button on baldness, not the rewind button. And they're most effective for androgenetic alopecia, offering little help for other types. Then there's the surgical option, hair transplantation. This procedure has come a long way since it was first successfully performed in Japan in the 1930s. Modern techniques can produce incredibly natural-looking results by moving individual hair follicles from a dense donor area, usually the back of your head, to the balding areas. But it's invasive, it can be very expensive, and its success is entirely limited by one simple factor: how much donor hair you have to spare. You can't create new hair. You're just rearranging what you've already got. This is where the story takes a turn. The limitations of these older treatments are exactly why the new era of regenerative medicine is so exciting. We're moving beyond managing the problem to fundamentally fixing it. And the key to this entire revolution is the stem cell. Your hair follicles are naturally packed with stem cells. They're housed in a specific region of the follicle called the bulge. These stem cells are the master construction workers responsible for rebuilding your hair in its natural cycle of growing, resting, and shedding. In conditions like pattern baldness, these stem cells don't actually disappear. They're still there. They've just become dormant. They've lost the signal to wake up and do their job. The primary goal of regenerative medicine is to find the alarm clock that can wake them up. Scientists are exploring several types of stem cells to do this. One exciting source is adipose-derived stem cells, or ADSCs. These are harvested from fat tissue. Yes, the stuff removed during liposuction. They're abundant and easy to get. When these cells are processed and injected into the scalp, they release a cocktail of growth factors that act like a powerful fertilizer for dormant hair follicles, encouraging them to grow. Another approach uses hair follicle stem cells directly. The idea is to harvest a small number of these cells from your own healthy follicles, multiply them in a lab, and then inject them back into the balding areas to bolster the population of active follicles. But perhaps the most mind-bending technology involves what are called induced pluripotent stem cells, or iPSCs. This is Nobel Prize-winning science. Researchers can take a regular adult cell, like a skin cell, and reprogram it back to its embryonic-like state, where it can become any type of cell in the body. This means we could potentially create an unlimited supply of your own, personalized hair follicle-producing cells, without any of the ethical issues surrounding embryonic stem cells. Waking up sleeping cells is one thing, but what about creating something from nothing? This is the holy grail of hair loss research. Hair follicle neogenesis, the creation of brand new hair follicles in adult skin. For the longest time, this was thought to be impossible in mammals. Once a follicle was gone, it was gone for good. But groundbreaking research has proven that wrong. Studies in mice have shown that large wounds can trigger a regenerative response that actually mimics how hair follicles form in an embryo. This process is called wound-induced hair follicle neogenesis. In essence, a controlled injury can trick the skin into rebooting its hair-making program, forming new, fully functional follicles. Researchers are now testing if this can be safely replicated in humans, using techniques like fractional lasers to create micro-wounds in the scalp. This could be a game-changer, especially for scarring alopecias, where the original follicles have been permanently destroyed. So how do scientists actually tell these cells what to do? They are learning to speak the language of our cells. The growth and regeneration of hair follicles are controlled by a complex web of molecular signals and pathways. It's a constant, microscopic conversation. One of the most important communication lines is the WNT signaling pathway. Think of WNT as the on switch for hair growth. Activating this pathway tells hair follicle stem cells to get to work and start building a new hair. Scientists are currently developing drugs, small molecules that can be applied directly to the scalp, that are designed specifically to flip this WNT switch to on. On the flip side, you have pathways like the JAK-STAT pathway. This pathway helps keep stem cells in their quiet, resting state. So if you want to wake them up, you need to inhibit this pathway. This discovery has already led to a new class of drugs called JAK inhibitors, which are now approved to treat severe alopecia areata by calming the autoimmune attack and telling the follicles it's safe to grow again. And the communication methods are getting even more sophisticated. Have you heard of exosome therapy? Exosomes are tiny little packages or vesicles that cells release to send messages to each other. They're packed with instructions in the form of proteins and RNA. Researchers have found that exosomes derived from stem cells are filled with pro-regenerative signals. When applied to the scalp, these exosomes can tell existing follicles to get healthier, thicker, and to kick into a higher gear. It's like delivering a motivational speech directly to your hair follicles. And let's not forget platelet-rich plasma, or PRP therapy. This involves taking a sample of your own blood, spinning it in a centrifuge to concentrate the platelets, and injecting this platelet-rich plasma back into your scalp. Why? Because platelets are little powerhouses of natural growth factors that can stimulate follicles and improve blood supply. Now let's look at some specific cutting-edge discoveries that feel like they've been pulled straight from a sci-fi movie. At UCLA, scientists have identified a small molecule they've called COVALEN TP1P405. This molecule works by waking up dormant hair follicle stem cells. Early human trials are showing very promising results, with the potential to produce full, thick hair, not just the fine peach fuzz that some other treatments generate. A company has already been founded to bring this therapy to the public. Then there's 3D bioprinting. This is where it gets truly wild. Scientists have successfully 3D printed hair follicles in lab-grown human skin. They create a bio-ink made from skin cells and follicle cells, and a specialized 3D printer builds a layered skin structure, creating tiny channels where the hair cells are deposited. These structures have successfully grown hair shafts. While it's still early days, imagine the future possibilities. Printing a skin graft for a burn victim that not only heals their wound but also grows hair. It's an incredible feat of tissue engineering. And, of course, we have to mention CRISPR, the revolutionary gene editing tool. Since we know that pattern baldness has a strong genetic component, CRISPR offers the tantalizing possibility of one day correcting the specific genes in hair follicle cells that make them susceptible to DHT in the first place. It could be the ultimate permanent fix. Of course, with all this incredible promise comes a healthy dose of reality. We have to talk about the challenges. Every single one of these new therapies must go through years of rigorous testing to prove they are both safe and effective. We're talking about manipulating the fundamental biology of our cells, and the long-term effects need to be thoroughly understood. There's also the issue of cost and scalability. Many of these treatments are currently very complex and expensive. A major hurdle will be figuring out how to make them affordable and accessible to the millions of people who need them, not just the wealthy. And finally, there are regulatory hurdles. The field of regenerative medicine is new, and getting these revolutionary treatments approved by bodies like the FDA is a long, complicated, and expensive process. So, are we truly at the end of baldness? Maybe not tomorrow. A definitive one-shot cure for everyone is likely still a number of years away, but the landscape has fundamentally changed. The pace of discovery is faster than ever before. We have moved from a world of merely slowing hair loss to one where we are realistically discussing reactivating dormant follicles and building new ones from scratch. Scientists are unlocking the biological secrets of hair in ways we could have only dreamed of a generation ago. The journey from the lab to your local clinic is long, but the progress is undeniable. So for anyone who has ever looked in the mirror with a sense of dread about their thinning hair, there is genuine, science-backed hope on the horizon. The end of baldness may not be here today, but for the first time in human history, we can finally see it coming. Thanks for tuning in to G Fun Facts Online. Join us next time as we explore another fascinating corner of our amazing world.